Wait, is tea originally from China or India? That's one question I often get asked by my international friends.
And honestly, I actually second-guess myself. If you walk into a supermarket in London, New York, Paris, tea shops are dominated by English breakfast, Earl Grey, Darjeeling.
India and Sri Lanka feel like tea countries, but China's relationship with tea spans thousands of years, long before India becomes a modern tea powerhouse in the 19th century. It evolved from an ancient herbal medicine into a deeply sophisticated cultural art form, cultivated in the Tang Dynasty with Lu Yu's The Classic of Tea, the world's first book dedicated to tea culture. By the Song Dynasty, tea ceremony had developed in close relationship to Buddhism practice, and it was later introduced to Japan by Buddhist monks and inspired what we nowadays know as matcha.
Nani?
The English word tea comes from the southern Chinese pronunciation, te, which traveled westwards through maritime trade. Along the overland routes through Central Asia, the Mandarin pronunciation cha spread instead. Okay, if so, how did India become the face of tea? That's when I stumbled upon this British man, Robert Fortune. In the mid-1800s, Britain had become highly dependent on Chinese tea, buying so much tea from China, meaning losing enormous amount of silver. The East India Company wanted to grow its own tea instead. So they hired a Scottish botanist named Robert Fortune. His mission, go into China's tea mountains, steal the plants, steal the know-how, and bring the entire industry back to British India. He shaved his head, attached a fake queue, changed into Chinese clothing, then secretly entered tea-growing regions that were off-limits to foreigners. Eventually, more than 20,000 tea plants and seedlings were shipped to India through Hong Kong. Within a few decades, plantations in Assam and Darjeeling completely transformed the global tea trade.
Wow.
What's more fascinating is the branding and PR strategy. At the time, European customers actually preferred bright green tea over black tea. Some export workshops in China even dusted tea leaves with pigment to keep them looking vividly green after months at sea. Fortune exposed this practice in his book. The story quickly became a food scandal. Britain suddenly had the perfect marketing opportunity. India black tea was presented as cleaner, safer, and more modern. Over time, names like English breakfast, Darjeeling, Ceylon becomes global symbols of premium tea. Maybe that's the thing about history. We tend to remember the storytellers. As a Hangzhou local, my hometown is actually right in the middle of this story. Hangzhou is where Lu Yu wrote the Tea Bible, where Longjing green tea, traditionally ranked #1 among China's 10 famous tea, is produced here. And this is where Song-style tea ceremony were developed and later spread to Japan. If you come to Hangzhou today, you can still walk through the tea terraces in the Longjing tea field, hike through Jiuxi, whose landscape look remarkably similar to the illustrations Robert Fortune published 200 years ago, or visit Jingshan Temple, where tea and Zen once shaped traditions that later influenced matcha culture. And somehow the most interesting part of history isn't what happened, it's why we remember it the way we do. If you're curious about more stories behind China, follow along. There is a lot more to uncover.